But the conversation we're going to have is about ditching the clock and why flat rate upfront pricing wins every time. Now, normally when I do this presentation, I don't have guest speakers that have actually lived this experience. So I know they're all going to convince you of the way to maximize your profit in your service revenue. But I grew up in an irrigation family, right? I'm fourth generation dirt surgeon. Doesn't mean we've done everything right for the last 100 years in irrigation. We've learned a lot and applied it. But yeah, there's a picture of me on my first install, age 5. For you younger folks in the room, look at that head of hair I used to have, all right? This industry will rob you of your follicles. I probably get Jeff M. Jabroff, living proof. Yeah, there you go, see? What's the old line? God made few perfect heads, the rest he gave hair. All right. With that in mind, I'm one of 3 boys, okay? And this one hits home for me on a personal level because my older brother owns an irrigation company. There's the 3 amigos, of course, the handsome guy in the middle. That's my little brother, Maintenance Mike, and my older brother, Lou. My older brother, Lou, owns an irrigation company in Northern Illinois. What he does primarily is backflow testing and backflow repair. But he keeps a couple of service guys going. He's got several hundred accounts. And my younger brother, Mike, is a perfect addition. Maintenance Mike, he's my big little brother now. Both of them, I don't know where they came from. My mom and dad, my mom's 5 foot, my dad's 5'6". I beat the old man by a ½ inch. I'm pretty sure these guys came from the mailman. I can't prove it. We're waiting on the 23andMe results to come back. But during the summertime, so my younger brother Michael is like the ideal service tech you'd want to hire, right? He's been in irrigation for 4 decades. The kid runs a graphic arts department at a high school. He's a licensed plumber. He's got a backflow testing credential and 2 master's degrees, right? And when he comes and helps my brother Lou during the summertime, like with Maintenance Mike, there's not going to be any callbacks. And typically, the customer, the next time they call for service, is asking for Maintenance Mike, right? Now, when I'm at family parties with these 2, I hear this banter going in the background. And the banter is my older brother Lou saying to my younger brother Mike, I can't make any money off you. And my brother Mike's like, how could that be, man? I'm your best guy. He's like, yeah, you're also my most expensive guy per hour. He goes, and the reason I can't make any money off you is because you're too damn efficient in the field. I'm billing time and material, and you're performing tasks that my other service technicians take longer to do, so therefore I make less money off you. And my brother Mike's like, that sounds like a you problem, Lou, not a me problem, right? But we're all familiar with this dynamic. And it was about a year ago where I went to this irrigation mastermind conference, which was a stab at the largest irrigation peer group ever assembled. There were 27 organizations there, all of them US based except for 2 out of Canada. And their annual irrigation revenue was in excess of $100 million. So, I mean, I'm a contractor person. So when I get in a room like this, I'm kind of shaking and over functioning because I just love to take in information. And one of the hottest topics of day 1 of this 2.5-day peer group was upfront flat rate pricing. And at the beginning of the conference, 60% of the attendees were using this pricing model for service work. By the end of the 2.5-day conference, the other 40% were going back to their offices to figure out how to implement it. So with that in mind, if anybody's interested in becoming part of that peer group, that QR code will let you register for it. I think next year they're going to do it in Claremont, Florida. If this mic keeps bobbing in and out, I'll probably switch it off. But at this point, one of the most vocal individuals at the Irrigation Mastermind about flat rate upfront pricing was my friend Kurt Litton, owner of Jetstream Irrigation. And the analogy he gave, and we're going to expand on this because I'm going to bring him up as well as his mentor in flat rate upfront pricing. And look, if you guys don't have questions, I'll ask away. Typically, when I do presentations on upfront flat rate pricing, the biggest pushback I get is all the contractors sitting in the room, your head immediately goes to that small handful of service jobs you went to that year where flat rate upfront pricing would not work, right? It was like big commercial site, you don't know where the valve boxes are, you got to locate wire, and it's impossible to give them some sort of upfront flat rate price. If you think about it, the vast majority of your service work is repetition of the same process. And so I'm not going to try to convince you. These two contractors literally are both Michigan contractors, one in this local market that has such a spirit of a rising tide raises all ships, right? Well, Hunter's goal, we want profitable partners. Flat rate pricing, when implemented, I've yet to meet a contractor who didn't see an increase in gross profit margin for service work. And if you think about the time and material model, if you know how many billable hours you get out of each service tech in a year, right, on average, before the season even starts, you know what the cap is on your revenue for service work because you can't make up more additional hours. So we'll get into how flat rate actually raises the ceiling on what your top end revenue can be, and also how it can add profitability to your bottom line. So Kurt, would you mind coming up and taking a seat? And then I'd also like to bring up Aaron Katerberg, owner of Grapids Irrigation, Grapids Irrigation. I'm from Chicago. I can bend the English vernacular in some not so great ways. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. Aaron was actually, so Kurt, how long ago, here, we'll move those shades out of the way. Give you some hot mics.
Those are the 2 times or the 1.5?
Those are the 1.5s. I get the 2 O's later in the afternoon. I'm going to mic up Kurt on this side as well. All right.
Hello. Hello.
Mics are hot.
Yep.
Hello.
Aaron,
Hello?
would you mind starting us off on how, because unbeknownst to me, last night we had dinner. 3 of my mentors in the industry learned flat rate pricing from you. And I didn't know that until last night. Give us a little bit of your journey, if you don't mind, with the transition.
Yeah, some of you know me. My dad my grandpa started in this industry in 1957. He had a sign along the freeway that said rain for sale. My dad restarted in this industry in 1986 after I got switched from a tennis racket to a shovel in my hand at that point. And they were both always really hard workers. I mean, just like the guys in this room, they were people who love the industry, who love sprinkling, and always busted their tail. But about 15 years ago, when I took over fully from my dad, I started a peer group. A lot of us were using the same software at the time, and just people that I met, like you guys in the room, those are people that most of them were a little older than I was. I want to learn from them. They're running great companies anywhere from Colorado to New Jersey or north up in Ontario down to Tennessee. So they're all northern contractors like we are, guys who do winterizations every season. And so we started, they may be the biggest mastermind. We were the first mastermind. And those guys, 7 of the 10 of them are out now. They sold to private equity over the last couple of years. But in that group of 10, there was $100 million in revenue. So some really good operators in that group. As we started, some of the guys that we brought in, some stuck, some didn't. There were a couple guys who I met who were using flat rate. There's one guy in Ontario, Canada, it started earlier. East Coast, it seems, started earlier. And then there was a guy out in Kansas who was using it, who's now
Could you maybe, Aaron, define what flat rate upfront pricing means? Sure. Just so everybody's got full optics on it.
Yeah, so a lot of you, when you go out and you switch a head, right? The customer goes, how much is that? And your tech goes, I don't know. Or he knows the price of the head, but he doesn't know how much the bill's going to be for the customer. So instead of it being that there's onesie twosies, that you're pulling out every funny pipe elbow and billing for that, and that you're billing for every nipple and you're charging for clamps, it's all in a unit. So every time you change a head, it's X amount of dollars. Your labor's included in it, your material's included in it, and it's one price. So before you meet the customer, if I'm talking to Kevin, I go, you got 3 heads to change, you can do this, we should switch this valve, we should do these things, and they say, how much is it going to be? And you say $487.
So it creates certainty, right? Whereas without that pricing structure, now your tech, who could be a great field employee, they're spending a couple of minutes in the truck trying to put a rough estimate together. They come to the front door and say, hey, Kev, it's going to be about $500. And then when the work's done, they come back and they say $550. Now there's friction, right?
Yep. Well, and even worse when it's billed out by the office that's behind 2 weeks, and they send it out and the customer opens the thing and said, that guy told me it was going to be $350 and it's $550, and you know they're super upset and they go, oh, they're cheating me, or they didn't tell me the right thing. Because your tech didn't know. And the office goes, well, he didn't pay for a bunch of this stuff. For his time, he didn't account for all of these things.
That's right.
So when you implemented it, what does that look like? Because I know the one thing I hear as a reoccurring mantra from anyone who is trying to implement an upfront flat rate is that you've got to have a CRM software, right? We won't ask by a show of hands, but I do live surveys all the time. And so far in North America this year, 27% of the folks that have attended the trainings I've been a part of are still doing things on paper, right? So I think the most important thing to know is that you've got to have a CRM software in order to get upfront flat rate off the ground.
So we started before.
Really?
Before we were on here.
No kidding.
Yep. So we had a spreadsheet that we printed out that was on a piece of paper, and when you wrote it out on your carbon paper on the back, you'd add it all up and you'd run it on your calculator and then give them the price that way.
Okay. So you were doing it before CRM.
Yep.
CRM makes it easier?
Oh, way easier. It's just it makes everything easier.
How many repetitious tasks, if I'm moving from a time and material model, how many repetitious tasks do each of you have in your CRM software?
120.
120.
120. It's
Just flip the little switch right here. You're high.
yeah. There's like 120. Certainly, you could try and create more and complicate it, but 120 typically covers it. Aaron, how many do you have?
Yeah, we're similar to what you are.
Yeah.
I mean, Kurt started with some of ours, and I think ours don't lay out too different. When I started, I was talking about the guy in Ontario. His was much less. His was oversimplified. The guy in Kansas, whether it was a Rainbird spray or a 100 spray, they were 7 cents difference, and he had a flat rate for each of them. So his was overly complicated. He had 1,400, I think, at that time. And just, he was trying to sell a software and let other people develop it, and it never took off. But people have gone both extremes of that.
So how do you handle it? Let's say it's something as simple as a rotor replacement. What are you figuring in along with that rotor? Because I don't know if that rotor is on flex pipe. I don't know if it's coming off of a PVC lateral line with a Schedule 80 nipple or a cutoff. So how do you put that together?
Yeah, so you typically want to put together your flat rate price, and as Aaron had said, it takes the labor, and it takes the main product, and then it takes a few subsidiary products, a couple of nipples or clamps or whatever, funny pipe stuff, puts it all together in that one price that you give to the homeowner or the owner, period, business owner. You price that and put that together by saying, what is kind of the most expensive that could happen? I might have a situation where I need 3 fittings, not 2, or 3 funny pipe elbows and not 1 or something. So you kind of put together a price that would encompass a worst case scenario, and you make that your price. And so you're covering 90% of all situations that you would have with that head replacement or that valve replacement or whatever. And you put that all together.
So you're figuring in a couple of feet of poly, a couple of feet of flex 90s,
That's right.
Katerberg clamps, a rigid or a cutoff nipple.
Yep.
So you've got everything that you possibly would need from a material stance already built into it.
That's right.
All right. That to me seems like the easier side. Now let's look at a scenario like my brother, for example. He's got a super fast, efficient tech, and he's got somebody who's a greenhorn and doesn't have a lot of experience. How do you as an organization decipher the allotted amount of labor in terms of time allocated to each service so that it's fair to your company, but also the customer as well?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the thing is, if you go to a doctor and you go to a sucky doctor, you don't want to pay extra for the sucky doctor who sits and talks to you 2 hours. It's the same thing with a tech. They're doing the same work for you. If you buy a car and you're buying the same car, do you want to pay extra for the car because it took them longer to produce it? Nobody has interest in paying extra for the worst person, which is when you're charging time and material, that's what you're charging. If you pay the same for the best person who takes great care of you and can do it faster as you do for the worst person who takes forever. So now all of a sudden, all the calls that I got on my time and material I put
They go
I
away.
put a Kurt in the field, and he takes 3 hours to change the head, and then I got to charge for that, and I put one of his guys out there, and they take 5 minutes, and I charge only for 5 minutes, and it's different. I always got to pick on you.
Yeah, it's fine.
We know each other well.
So to create that labor allocation, do you do like an average of?
I would say we if there's, let's just say there's 5 technicians that you're working with, you have your fastest one and your newest greenhorn or whatever. We go somewhere towards the slowest guy, not the slowest guy, but somewhere on that end.
Somebody in the bottom
Bottom third, right?
Okay.
So again, you're capturing, you're going to 2/3 of the time, your guys are going to put in heads and beat that time. And there's this initial feeling like the people that I've talked to, the contractors I've talked to have said, well, our customers won't go for this. They won't go for that situation. But in actuality, what you'll find is, though, as Aaron was saying about time on a job, the customer doesn't look out the window and say, I saw your guy walk to the truck 4 times to get a drink of water. I'm not paying for that, because you give them a set price, and they don't care anymore. So it takes that pressure off your technician just to go to work.
You know, you nailed on a huge point. I can remember the first time I got in a service truck with my grandfather, and we got out of the truck and he handed me the biggest set of blue channel locks he had in the truck. And he told me, anytime you step out of this service van, you will have this in your hand. And I think about that because, like, let's play, I'm a consumer, okay? I move into a house, or I inherited a house that has a lawn sprinkler, okay? I go to turn it on, it doesn't come on. If I call my brother's company today, and Alpine SAP, and say, hey, y'all service sprinklers, they're going to go, yeah, we're $150 an hour and it's time and material. I want you to think about that from the consumer's optics, right? How scary of a thing is that to hear from their side? Because all I know is when I turned the dial on, nothing came on. So I need an irrigation service tech, and they're telling me $150 an hour. I mean, I'm puckering as a consumer, right? And now, like you said, when the employees show up to do the work, I'm going to be bird dogging you if I'm the consumer, right? I'm going to be looking out the window. I'm going to be calling the office if somebody's on their smartphone, because I'm just watching the ticker run at $150 an hour, and I don't even know what the material is. Is it going to be an hour? Is it going to be 2 or 3? So it really, it creates a naturally abrasive situation. So
More than that, Kevin. I mean, if they're comparing with their mechanic's price, who's got a fixed cost at shop, they work 12 months a year, that hourly rate puts them thinking of you in a different way. And so even, how many of you guys have had somebody call you and say, I just got my Home Depot flyer, and an 1804 is 97 cents.
Hold it up.
I gotta hold it up.
Yeah.
Sorry. So an 1804 is 97 cents, and you just charged me $8.26. Anybody ever have that call? Yeah, right? Or you charge me for a nozzle. And you charge me X for a nozzle, and you charge me $7 for a nozzle, and I can buy one of those for 47 cents in my Home Depot flyer that they just sent. I mean, that's what they're comparing. That's what they see.
It takes that out of it. The customer stops doing that because you're not giving them individual pricing on labor or parts or anything. It's just one price. When people call our office now and say, what's your labor rate? Where Kevin said, we're $150 an hour plus time and materials. What's your labor rate? We say, we don't have one. What do you mean? And they're like, how can you not have a labor rate? And we're able to say, well, we have a specific price for every service that we'll give you. What would you like to, I'd like to know how much is it to replace a head. And we can give them that price. But they can't pick it apart and ask what the price of that 1804 is. It's just built in there.
Well, it's going to be a Pro Spray, number one.
Well, you use the 1804.
Here. So let's
that
play.
was to give the cheap price example.
So if I'm the consumer and you guys show up at my house and you've never been to my house before, right? You know nothing about my system other than you got a phone call saying it won't come on. Is there an initial charge to get you to the door to cover your overhead, right? Because you might give me that flat rate price, and I'd say, nah, I'm good. Take it easy. You got to cover yourself, right? So is there a trip charge and an overall diagnosis? What does it look like?
We have a trip charge. So some of you have service call fees right now, and I've found in talking to a number of business owners that that's a wide variation on service call price. To show up at your house to get a truck in the driveway might be $150 for this company, and it might be $75 for this company. That's up to you, what you want to make sure you're covering your overhead with. But that, for us, that show up fee really is part of the diagnostic fee as well. Unless somebody calls and says, I have a complex problem with my pump, I can't get it to turn on or something, just about everything that we go after and look at can be diagnosed in a short period of time. So we charge a service call or show up in the driveway fee, get the tech into your driveway fee, and then everything from there, we give them a flat rate price on. So we look at their problem, give them a price before we do work, and let them decide, right? Do they want to do it today? Do they want to do it later? Do they want to budget for it or whatever? And so that covers the office and the technician getting to the site. And then we know once we start giving them upfront prices, we don't have to charge a super high service call fee because we're going to do well financially on those upfront prices.
All right, I'm going to curveball you both now.
We balance it out with zones as well. So if you own a giant commercial project,
Okay.
we've got a service
For sure.
2-inch main line, and we've got 100 zones, and Kurt has a system that's 4 zones that's 1 inch. It's a different animal, right? So we've tried to balance out that price.
So you're taking some data in over the phone
Yeah.
to determine which box you're putting.
Or you have it
for
in your
that.
CRM already.
It's extra flat rate.
Okay. Well, I think that's where I'm leading to, right? So to me, you're making it sound almost too easy. What happens? You show up, trip charge. During the diagnostic, you notice that, yeah, there's a broken head, but it's surrounded by tree roots. That's an unknown, right? In the labor side. But then in addition to that, what if you can't get zone 6 or 7 to come on because you're going to have to do some wire locating or something along those lines? Like, how does a flat rate work in those scenarios? Because those are oftentimes the resistance I get when I'm engaging in the conversation.
That's right.
Want to go? I'll make it.
So you show up, you go through their system, you say, hey, your system works good except for these 3 things. Zone 2, you have a broken head, $65 to replace that. Zone 4 won't turn on, and zone 7 has 1 crack spray head. That's $45. So your total charge is $110, but we also have a diagnostic fee of whatever you decide. Maybe it's your own internal. We think it'll take about an hour to wire locate that valve. And so you say it's $180 and we'll wire locate that valve. Additional quote to come if there's broken heads or something in that line, but we'll fix your 2 heads and we'll find that valve for you. It'll be $180.
So it becomes a multi-tier
Yep.
flat rate, but there's still no pucker factor from the consumer.
Yep.
Because you're saying, hey, it's going to be an additional $70 to track that valve.
Yeah,
and
you
locate
just,
it.
yeah, that's just another upfront code. You have 1 set wire locating fee. If you know it to be a complex site like Aaron's talking about, commercial, a lot of wires, traditional, going off main line in different ways, you can certainly just put quantity 2 wire locate, quantity 3 wire locate, and you've doubled or tripled that. Your technician will know this is going to be a wiry one. I'm going to put 3 down, 3 units of wire locating to find that valve.
Our blocks are about an hour and a half each.
Yeah.
So if you think it's going to take you 5 hours, you guess 4, and no customer ever argues with you when you get it done in an hour and a half, and you say, "Hey, your bill's going to be a lot less than I just told you." But
No
if you stop
discounts.
at the end and say, "Hey, I run into a whole bunch more stuff, and there's roots, and there's this rat nest of wires that I ran into, and a whole bunch of other stuff," then you got to go back and have another conversation.
When does it get to the point, like let's say I'm a tech working for your organization and I roll up on a job site. It's a system that hasn't been maintained for many years and they need a dozen new rotors. Is there some sort of way when you know you're going to be on site, hey, if I was just here changing 1 rotor, it's a flat rate of X, but since you're here and you're going to perform that task repetitiously, is there a discount at some point so you don't? I mean, like, I'm for capitalism, but sometimes you don't want to be too opportunistic. How does that work? All right.
Yeah, a few years.
I'm just throwing it at
Right.
you guys the stuff that I hear from.
Everybody's different, right? Every company's different. You can have your own particular stance on that business topic of discounting things, right? It could be the economy is poor and you're not busy, and so you want to give a better price. But we decided about 10 years ago, no discounts. Now, do we discount things once in a while? Occasionally. It's not a total truism, but no discounts. What will often happen in the scenario about replacing a number of heads is we might go in and say you've got a broken head in zone 2, 5, 7, and 9. That's 4 heads we need to replace. Here's the price. And the homeowner might say, or the owner might say, geez, you just replaced 5 last year. We have to replace these what's going on? You know, you bring up a good point. You have a total of 29 rotors in your whole yard. Why don't we just replace them all today? And now you'll get another 20 years out of them. And we won't do this next year or the year after. We'll do all 20 right now or all 30 right now. In an instance like that, we might say, and we'll give you a slight benefit to do that, to get all 29 replaced in one day. So you turned a disgruntled customer that was complaining about you're always fixing stuff into your best friend, because now you've given them an opportunity to have a great system for another 20 years without a bunch of repairs.
So we approach it a little different.
Okay.
If you have something over $500, I want the tech to look spectacular in front of the customer, and I want the customer to feel good about it. So they can talk to their field supervisor or their service manager and say, hey, I've got 10 heads. I think I can replace this in 2 hours. Can I give them a discount? And they're allowed to knock it up to 20%, 10% or 20% off the 500. So you get $50 off, and you can come back and say, this is our normal price, but I talked to my manager and I got you another $100 off.
So what I'm hearing here is kind of like almost like, hey, I'm on site right now. I have the product. We can do this. It's almost like a bit of a fast action discount versus, hey, you call us next week and say you want us back to perform this surface. It's going to be at that full retail price.
And you're going to pay for the call out again.
Yeah.
Got it.
For sure.
Let's talk about onboarding with you, Kurt, and bringing it on. You were already on a CRM when you brought it in.
Right.
I'm curious because you service a couple thousand customers. You're about 90% residential to 10% commercial in terms of service from the last time we spoke. That may have changed a bit. What was it like for your staff? Did you lose any customers in the process when you switched? And what was it like for your employees in the office and onboarding new folks?
Yeah, that's a good question. And this really goes back to a lot of my relationship with Aaron. Back in 2015 or so, I had the fortunate opportunity to meet Aaron at our software summit, Hindsight, and we met there. And we as a company were searching for best practices, whatever those would be. One of those big ones that we wanted to create was an easier way for our technicians to quote things. In other words, quote things to the customers that were identical to each other. So it wasn't all over the map. One tech gave this price, one tech gave this price, and make it simple for the tech to quote and keep his hands in the dirt versus sitting in the van calculating difficult quotes. So in that process, I was at that summit and I asked the people that ran the summit, hey, I'm looking for somebody that does this thing called flat rate pricing. Who is that? And they said it was Aaron. And after a bit of time of chasing Aaron down, we became friends, and Aaron helped launch us on flat rate pricing with the original goal of making things far more simple for our technicians, make it clear, transparent, and uniform between our technicians. So that was a part of it. Now, how did the company receive it? It's easier for the techs. The girls in the office have the same chart. Homeowner could call in. They could ask what the labor rate is, but we don't have one. But the girls in the office can quote. The homeowner sometimes will call and say, I have 3 broken heads. What will that cost? The girls can quote it, not knowing anything about sprinklers. They can quote that price, and the homeowner gets a clear picture of what they're going to end up at. So it made sense on so many levels. And
did you lose anybody in your service space where you're already seeing them twice a year, but you're implementing a different methodology?
Yeah, no, we didn't. Those original thoughts that you have about change, like our customers will never go for this. Our customers are different. They're not. We're all consumers, right?
I felt like our customers really appreciated it because it was uniform across the board, no matter what before, it would be my fastest guys say, oh, it's $24 per head. I can do it in 5 minutes. My slowest guys say it's a half hour and $24. And they, so they were always getting a different price depending on the technician. Now it's the same price no matter who goes there.
So it's standardized.
They loved it.
It's funny. I met a contractor last week in Denver, Colorado, who's flat rate as well. On his website, all 110 of his services, the flat rate price for each thing is listed on there. And he said he gets his UX on his website, and he's got high Google reviews. He said he gets a ton of work just because of that straightforward communication.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like some people want to. I mean, pricing is the biggest blowback we get in our industry for new construction work or service. It's like you're proactively addressing the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah.
From the consumer's perspective. Do we have some questions in the room? Yeah.
Do you guys post it on your website, or do you guys see it positive or negative? And just everybody seeing it, being transparent.
We don't put it on our website. All of our technicians have it, and it's quoted to the customer always beforehand. But we're not putting all the details. Honestly, our customers aren't sprinkler people. They don't know the difference between an 1804 and a Pro Spray, believe it or not. So
I'll fix that.
They are going and looking for that stuff. I mean, they want to trust you. They want to have a relationship with you. And so we work more on stuff like that than we work at them digging into all the details of what's behind it and trying to understand all that and then going, how does this pricing compare with other companies or people?
We don't either. We don't have it posted, and certainly you could if you wanted to. But again, we're starting to see and feel more and more and more like people don't even want to be bothered. Just fix it. I'm busy. I'm going to the golf course. I'm going up north with my family. I'm taking Susie to soccer. It's a 180. Okay, do it. As long as it's done right and professionally and so on. That's what they're fine with.
I think that's the crux of it, because when you give somebody a quote and when the work's done, I mean, if I wanted to take my Silverado, I call Firestone and say, hey, I need 4 19-inch tires for a Silverado all season. Over the phone, they're going to say, that's $1,500. So when I drop off the vehicle, whether my mom takes it there or myself, and they have it for an hour or 6 hours, I don't care, because I know when it's done,
I've already agreed
it's
to that
going to be the
price.
exact. And I feel like when you can deliver on that in the field, immediately you build trust with your customer.
You do, absolutely.
When you're like 182, and when it's done, now they're not tailing your people around on the job site, right? I mean, we're talking about all the upsides. Are there negative things or friction that you had to work through in implementing it? And is there any other upside to things like incentivizing field employees and things of that nature?
Do the negative side. Is there?
Because Aaron's going to give us the negative.
I can't think of a negative side to it.
Yeah, you make more money, so I mean, maybe you're not treating your customers quite as fairly as you did before.
You guys in there, because you both have flat rate experience. You want to add something?
There is a piece
I'm
of
at.
your good
Give it to
technicians and you're taking good care of people. You're building in worst case scenario for your company, right? The customer might have to be paying an extra 10% because of that. Actually, it ends up looking like 20%. I mean, I've worked at it with probably 20 different companies at this point. The average price is higher for the end consumer, but they are much more comfortable and appreciate it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of ironic that you're charging them more, but they feel more comfortable with it.
Well, there's guardrails on it.
Right.
Yeah.
What if they say no to the service call? Once they get called there for the service call, and then you give them a quote, and then they say no to the quote, do you still charge them for the service call?
For sure.
Absolutely.
And we take credit card before.
We do as well.
But now instead, that used to be the customer wasn't home, and the tech would go and change 10 heads. And then they go, I didn't want those 10 heads changed. Now the tech's got the ownership to make sure that they know it's going to be $600, and I've got to pay for that. And by the end, we're paid for it. It's immediate. Before, it was always this not knowing what I'm getting. I mean, and our industry is way behind. I don't know if you probably realize this, but if you go to the car dealership, they tell you what that service is going to be. You call your HVAC guy, and he's got to replace the fan. He tells you what that service is going to be. Nobody charges time and material anymore in other industries. Plumbers don't.
No.
If they're installing a sink, it's electricians don't. I mean, service industry doesn't run this way except for people who are running like companies were 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm too long answered.
Back to your service call. We charge that. We've gotten to the point now that we charge that service call before we send the technician, because homeowners will, or owners of businesses will not be there, or something fix up north, whatever, and we're sending techs all over, showing up in driveways without people home. We can't service it, but we've still had fielded the expense of that service call. So we just take that payment over the phone. The girls, when they book the appointment, that's cleared up, and now they show up in the driveway with a zero balance, right? Ready to quote them a piece of work or not quote.
We've got one question over
I
here.
got multiple. Yeah.
Oh, multiple. Sorry, we'll get to everybody.
I just have a question. So when you swap from your time and material format to this, did you look at, say you said you were charging $150 to get there, $8 to swap out at?
Yep.
Okay. So now you $150 to lower your service call rate. You determined you wanted to charge $65 to swap out.
Right. What did you do?
So you still charge your 150 plus 65, so now you're 200 and something to swap out a irrigation head?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we did lower our service call fee. Aaron didn't. We did, because we knew after a short period of time the results were in, and we were making a lot more money than we were before. So we knew that we could tell the homeowner, hey, we'll show up for this fee, this smaller fee, $75 for the service call fee. We'll assess your problem and we'll give you an upfront price before we start and let you decide. That's a comfortable way to get on their property to sell them something. It's a very comfortable, easy answer there. Hey, it's $150 to show up at your site, and then we're gonna, and then they're like, well, I even though I don't know their prices, I'm gonna price shop that around. We know we're gonna make it up on the upfront, so we don't charge such a heavy service call fee.
That's the thing people always talk about. So I think when I say no, we have historically always charged more in the spring. I know all of you will be way busier than you can handle in the next 2 months. And then our service call we've kept low, because that's our end of the aisle pricing. If you
Right.
grocery store price, but I've never wanted to lower it in the spring because we can't get to everybody anyway.
Yeah,
I'll
that's a
add
good
a layer
point.
to
That's a
that.
good point.
Oh, we had a question in the back.
Yeah, how often do you have to review your unit price? In other words, you've got to constantly be paying attention to how much your product costs you, but then the labor, the overheads, the insurance, all the things,
We do it once a year.
Same,
once a year.
once a year. Yep.
And I'll add a quick layer on. I know we had another question over here in the corner as well, Joe. So I met a contractor out of Dallas-Fort Worth where they're not in a seasonal market, right? And my friend Jacob Denny owns a company called Lawn Sense. He does service only. What he does is he sells annual memberships, right? So for $275 a year, you're part of the Lawn Sense membership. And now at any point in time, you can call Lawn Sense and they will show up at your house and do a wet check for $0. And I said, Jacob, how is that fair for you? He said, Kevin, 90% of the time that we show up at somebody's house to do a wet check, we're leaving there but writing an invoice, right? And they kind of go with a good, better, best. So they'll address the issue and say, okay, yeah, we found your broken lateral line. That's $125. However, we ran through your entire system. We noticed you had an antiquated controller. We noticed you have low head drainage in the backyard. We can add check valves. So they come in with a flat rate to fix that problem, but they're also going with a good, better, best with additional upgrades. Because once you're on scene.
Yeah, I was just going to say the new term is need to, should do, could do.
I love that. What was that again?
Need to, should do, could do.
Write that down.
Used to, good, better, best was kind of like
Sure.
the contract level pricing, but with the flat rate, it's like, hey, all these heads, they're leaking, but you can change half of them now. You can do half of them later. You don't have to do that. That's you should do that, but you don't have to. So that customer who says no, they can cut half their bill down right on the spot if they want to, but they realize they've got a problem later.
Jeff, we had a question over in the corner.
Yeah, I just had a question pertaining to, are we talking strictly install for flat rate, or are we talking strictly tech work for flat rate, or are we talking install as well? Because if you're
You
doing
go
a
first.
brand new install, you're giving a flat rate, there's a lot of factors to think about. You don't
Sure.
even pull them through first off,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know guys who've done both, and are seeing both currently. And actually, I have a partner who we do our administrative business with, and he does all of his install on a flat rate too. But then they put all the variables in there. I mean, soil type and things like that. And they have it zone size changes to a different flat rate. If you have an 1.5 inch main, if you have, I mean, so there's variables in that, and there's a bunch there as well. I remember Johnny Heisinger and I talking years ago about a price per head on spray heads and gear heads, and this is what people averaged out. If you look at the wholesale houses, they talk about, oh, this is what our ratio is on our full price versus our material price. And we all know that that varies depending on which controller you're picking of hunters and how you have to do the work, or whether you're spreading out 10 wires or 2 wires. So there's always a ratio like that. And sometimes the more general you get it, the less accurate your price is. But in other markets, West Michigan has been relatively tight because we're a bunch of Hollanders who beat each other up. But in other markets...
Not today, though. Today we're a peer group.
There's margin in other markets that they get close enough, and there's money for everybody to make.
So, Aaron, what do you do, though? Do you do flat rate for your installs?
So ours has some assemblies in it, but it's still broken down all the way, and it's different between commercial and residential.
Yeah.
We're honestly trying to simplify it so we can get bids out faster.
And we do the same thing. We use flat rate for service work, and we do a kind of a bid price for an install. Obviously, even if you were using flat rate pricing for install, you would have you're putting in dozens and dozens of everything, so you're going to have a somewhat lower price than you would on this unit basis thing that you do when you do service work.
Yeah, and there's a balance somewhere in between. I mean, you can go down to every plant, or you can go up to every zone and figure out, or you can go heads at a level, or, I mean, there's different spots that you can pick to do that. The most accurate is when you break it down the most, but if you're really looking to make money, if you make any mistakes at that, there's no buffer.
Have either of you incentivized field employees with this, or found a way to do some sort of, I'm just thinking about it.
Yep.
I work for you. It's 3 o'clock on a Friday. If I'm time and material, whether that call was a half hour or 45 minutes, I'm probably going to make it my last call of the day. You know, where as in moving to that upfront flat rate, is there incentive for me to be more as efficient as possible?
You want to go? Or you want me to go first?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. We do a thing called performance pay. Our guys, the crew in blue back there in the corner, they're very familiar with that. And so last year when we weighed it out, they make an additional $3 to $8 an hour. Actually, some of them were, I think there are a couple of you guys who are even over that, closer to $9. $3 to $9 an hour beyond their paycheck that they get paid for doing. We talk about helping the customer, not selling.
Yeah.
Because when you're repairing a broken head, when you're fixing
Improving.
valve, when you're finding the things that the customer wants and you're providing them with that, you're helping them. So our best helpers have the highest return. They get a percentage of the sale, and we plan in that when we price it. So on Kurt's $60 head, every one of them that they do, those guys get 5% of that.
So I mean, now it's like each one of the service trucks you're rolling out is like a company within the company. You know what I mean? I know that I'm not just making this hourly wage, and it is what it is. So I might milk a call here, which isn't necessarily fair to the customer or the company, right? Whereas now I'm looking for that extra call 4 o'clock on a Friday, right?
Yeah.
Well, and finding the head of the bush, right? Because we all know that sucks to go and chop the roots out.
I never saw it.
Underneath there and do it. And so if you can add the extra bill and you get a chunk of that, your hourly rate's going up that you're getting paid. You're not just getting the paycheck. You're helping the customer more, and you're rewarded for that.
Sure. There's exceptions, but ultimately, I think this process also makes a better technician, because now they're really truly concerned with making repairs and upgrades to a customer's system that makes sense. That head turns just fine. I don't need to replace it. Upfront pricing, that head turns just fine, but it's leaking. That's wasting water for my client. We're going to replace that because that'll improve their system. It'll use water more wisely and so on. So I think it makes better techs. That head under the bush, I don't want to dig it up, but I'm going to suggest that because it'll make their system better. We won't waste water, and I think it makes better techs.
Yeah, I think Kurt's point, not just in doing tech stuff, but people buy from people. And I find that our techs who have better relationship and have been around longer with customers that are really trying to take care of the customer trusts them, and then they have more opportunity to help because their relationship is built. The better that relationship is between the tech and the customer, the better the service we provide.
Yeah.
We had a question up front.
So I'm sure this.
Ding.
That's super hot. I can talk loud. I'm sure this varies with the CRM, but let's talk about inventory release. If I'm replacing a rotor head on your upfront pricing, are we just releasing that one 4-inch rotor, or are we releasing that whole kit with the ancillary parts?
You want to go? Want me to go?
Go ahead.
We don't track the stuff under $1, right? I mean, like Kurt said, you're including all of that stuff there. We worry about the heads.
Yep.
We worry about stuff over $5. We don't have any. I shouldn't say that. A nozzle is under $5, right? And that's a one-piece item. But I'm not worrying about the screen. So inventory, we do lose something there that we are not able to track down to the clamp level. It has to be a little bit broader when you're running on a system like this.
Yep.
Another question back here.
In the grand scheme of things, though, I think that you still make more money and benefit with the flat rate pricing, because out of the 50 heads I may change in a week, only 30 of them might have to be refit and re-swung. 20 of them aren't. So that's just more profit for the company, more money being made with less material.
Because the fitting's built in there, you didn't actually need to use it. Yeah.
But
We got two more, Jeff, in your role.
So what's your process, I guess, in the case that the tech gets the diagnosis wrong? They say, it just needs a head and a fitting or something. Customer signs, they get in there, and there's a bunch more to do. Do you just have to eat that cost, or do you have a process for solving that issue?
I would say, I know this sounds a little bit overinflated, but it rarely happens. We're looking at a broken head or a leaking head. We diagnose it as a leaking head. If it's the valve won't turn on and we have to wire locate it, then obviously we can't quote what's going on in the zone once the valve is found. So I think it's a matter of a relative amount of industrial common sense when your technician's on site. He won't. You'll teach him not to quote something he doesn't know about, right? It could happen. It does happen maybe, but it's pretty rare because you're diagnosing a problem that you see and know.
I think it comes down to relationship again. You need to have a conversation. If I'm the tech and I ran into those things, I just fixed what I told you I was going to fix, and now I got a whole bunch of heads that I've realized are there that aren't coming up. I got more work to do. I got to go back and talk to the customer before I do the work to make sure that they know that there's going to be an additional bill for that.
Yeah, and both of you talking about this and Aaron bringing this up, it could be something like you have this broken head, and as soon as you fix it, the other 3 heads on the line that seem to be operating properly, another one pops up. There wasn't enough pressure. It suddenly pops up, and it's broken too. And that's the conversation you have with the homeowner. Hey, I fixed this head as I said I would for this price, and when I did that, 2 more appeared broken down the line. So it's really a conversation and a relationship at that point.
And it becomes the technicians instead of the office's deal 3 weeks later when no one knows what happened, that's a major difference, right? You're on site, you can walk them over and say, hey, Kevin, hey, look at what just happened. I told you I was going to fix this one, but now I got all of this because of what I'm realizing.
Yeah.
You guys talk about flat rate pricing for your wire tracking, stuff like that, 1 unit, 2 units, so on and so forth. But what about potential lateral line break that you can't track out or something like that? You know that there is a break in there, you have low pressure coming off your system, the valve is fine. Do you have a flat rate pricing
Yep.
for that, or does that point go
Yep.
to something different?
You don't?
Oh, we have flat rate pricing
Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah, we have a flat rate price for 1-inch break, 1 1/4, 1 1/2. We in some cases we've combined like 1 1/4, 1 1/2. The fitting price may be slightly different. We price it as a 1 1/2, but it might say repair polyline break 1 1/4, 1 1/2 inch, and that's a set price. And what does it include? Maybe it includes 4 fittings, 8 clamps, and 4 feet of pipe.
And that would be also based on, the site conditions. So if there's trees, it's on rice, if it's
Yeah, there'd be a root bill if it's broken 3 times by the roots. There's 3 break bills. I mean, sometimes you got to get into it to talk to them to realize
Yep.
what they're dealing with. It's like your car, right? They go and do a diagnostic and they say, "Hey, we think it's this," and then they find 2 other things that cause that. They call you and they have another conversation with you and say it's going to be another $500.
Yeah.
Understood, thank you.
Yeah.
Another question, Jeff, right next to that gentleman.
So with wireless being a new technology, would you charge the same flat rate as you would if you were tracking a valve as you were fixing the wireless?
Has wireless valve link entered your flat rate?
No,
pricing yet?
it hasn't.
All right. We got a fly in the ointment.
But like nodes have, right?
Sure.
Or to install a wireless valve.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very easy to come up with a price for that.
Yeah.
Versus having to fix the wire, because pretty much you're doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty easy to see all of that fitting into the system, but you need something different because you like you say, it's a different situation. It is.
Yeah.
It's more straightforward,
Yeah.
right? The more straightforward something is, the less you have to pad the price. That's why we have extra time in that wire. Well, those of you who are here in West Michigan, or if you were from Florida, hydraulic systems were our curse and our nightmare. And so dealing with those or having a flat rate for fixing those is insanely hard, right? You start injecting vinegar to try and see where the lawn burns 2 weeks later. It's hard to come up with a price for that stuff.
So replacing a new is.
Yeah.
Do we have any other thoughts or comments or feedback? Yes, sir.
What do you do with your warranty?
No different.
No different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if the head popped off and we got to go back, there's no charge for that.
Yeah. No charge. Yep.
Any other thoughts or comments on the upfront flat rate? Like I said, it's been a major buzz in our industry the last 4 or 5 years. I'm seeing a massive shift towards it. And again, I'll just go back to my opening statement. If you know how many billable hours you get out of an employee in a calendar year, before the season starts, you have a cap on how much revenue you can drive, right? This motto encouraging and incentivizing employees to work as efficiently as possible, but also doing more thorough wet checks, raises the ceiling on what your revenue can be. It's like creating ownership with every vehicle you roll out. I mean, so I just thought it was beneficial enough to.
Can you switch back to that picture of the mastermind thing?
Yeah, 100%.
I got one I want to close up with.
Yeah,
please.
I have a
Yeah,
couple
please do. Yeah, go ahead.
So this guy here, Trevor Lively from Ontario, Canada.
Blue Jay Irrigation.
Blue Jay, I'm sorry. Well, from
Yeah.
Blue Jay Irrigation. He's the guy that said there's only so many hours in the day and so many hours in the year, and if you sell by time and materials, you're capped. You can only make as much money as there is hours in the day. With flat rate pricing, that goes away. You have an opportunity to make additional income, better income, more income by doing flat rate pricing, and that came from Trevor. One other thing about flat rate pricing that I think nobody's asked this question, but I'm gonna just throw this out there. There was a quick mention of roots and so forth, so you might say, well, I have to replace a head. I've based it on this much labor, but what if I have to dig it in, in gravel, or it's near a driveway that's a gravel driveway and it takes the guy forever to dig it? How do I account for that? You have a one-line code that says roots, hard ground, or whatever. So that's one unit. And then maybe that's whatever you decide it to be. Maybe it's an hour's worth of work or whatever. So if you have 3 heads that you have to replace, or a line or something around a tree, and you know it, you just add 2 hard ground, roots, and gravel. And that takes care of a little bit of additional labor. It's still an upfront code. It's still a unit. And your technician can just put 1 or 2 on there and add that extra labor in that way.
Aaron, closing thought? Oh, we have another question.
Just one quick one that I didn't think about until now. Scheduling. So obviously, like you said, they are limited to the amount of hours that they can work in the day, and you pre-schedule these people out for these calls. Now, if they're beating these times, are they done at the end of their day with the amount of scheduled service calls? Do you reschedule them to something else, trying to bolster up that day?
Yeah. So you know, a lot of the time you're going to a service call and you don't know if you're going to encounter 2 or 5 or 8 heads that you're going to replace or suggest to be replaced. So that goes to a different level of scheduling. But in our firm, we often leave one day a week, Fridays, open for when we go to a site and it's 1 or 2 heads, the fellows replace them. We charge the people on the spot and move on with our schedule. If it becomes a situation where 10 heads are broken and it will throw them wildly off schedule, that gets redone on Friday. Those write-ups get redone that same week. So the homeowner or the owner isn't waiting 2 months for that because you're booked. We keep that Friday open for those larger repairs and they stay on schedule through the week.
Is there an additional site visit cost for them having to return on
No. Nope.
So you say Friday is the back cleanup.
Yep.
Interesting.
Friday is what we call write-ups, right? So we go along the line and we do, you know, this house has 1 break and 1 head. This house has 1 move head and 1, you know, valve, something. And we move through the day. When we get to something that's significant that will throw off the schedule dramatically, we move those to Friday of that week. Also, with a good CRM, which Kevin was talking about, your people in the office, your office staff knows if your technicians are ahead of schedule or behind schedule without calling and asking them. They know where they are in the schedule. It's 3:00. He's still got 4 service calls and can take and move one of those appointments off of that schedule onto a schedule of another technician that is maybe running ahead of schedule.
Yeah. Makes sense. Aaron, you got some closing thoughts for us?
Yeah, I mean, the one we haven't talked about is money.
Let's do it.
And I know none of you want to make money.
No, we're all in it for the love of the game, right?
Just dirt. So, but I mean, Kurt, first year you did it. I mean, this was a few years ago when we sat down and we went through your stuff.
2018.
How much did your revenue change? You remember?
28%, I think, that first year.
28% top line revenue. How much of that 28% do you think hit his bottom line?
No, it was 28% bottom.
Bottom line?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I hear this right. Gross profit margin on service work went up 28 points.
Yep. It's dramatic.
Yeah. There's no part of that sucks, guys.
Aaron used to say when we would talk about this, and I had my reservations early on, like, you know, and lots of questions, and change is, you know, scary, and will our customer, all those things. And Aaron used to say, flat rate pricing is a game changer. That was his words exactly. And it truly is. It really, and it simplifies so many things in your business.
Your office has less work. Your techs have less paperwork. You make more money. Your customers are happier. And
more clarity.
They're paying more and happy about it. That's the downside.
And
you're getting paid right away.
And you're getting your money right away.
Yeah.
And they're knowing what they're going to be paying right away. I mean, there are so many things. There's so many reasons that every service industry in the country has changed.
Going that way, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we fall behind.
Yeah, we're somewhat primitive. I mean, but we're getting there. This is proof of it.
That's why we're talking about
it.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, back in my grandpa's day, all the contractors would fight with each other all the time. I mean, my dad talks about stories of brawls on the trips that they go on and throwing guys off of boats. And,
we've come a long way.
Some of us there's a lot of stuff that's changed that way. This industry is getting consolidated more and more. Service industry, I mean, with AI coming out, all the office jobs are being eliminated. My kid now wants to work with his hands because he thinks there's going to be a job for him. I mean, you guys have become the backbone. I used to kid our guys that they should be making more than doctors because they're doing something that adds a lot of value. They got to think about themselves as more valuable. We as an industry, if we don't think we're valuable, if we're not willing to charge for our services, we're beating ourselves up. We're beating each other up. I mean, in order for us to all be more successful, in order to see the green industry move forward, we need more people like Kevin to put these discussions forward.
Yeah.
And more people like Kurt who are willing to share it and help others have success with it.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, we all complain about truck and truck, right? I mean, the guy who goes around and charges nothing, or who has the $25 sign on the side of the old rusty compressor that he goes into a neighborhood and tries to do it all.
Just cash.
Yeah.
I wear a wig when I do it, so you guys don't know it's me. Yeah. I got bills to pay.
So with all this stuff, if we don't float the whole boat, like there's going to be some anchors who are still dragging it down. The guys who aren't moving forward into the new way of thinking are holding everybody back. And you know what happens to the anchors? When the line breaks, they sink. They're gone.
You know, there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, I grew up in supply chain, and the companies that were the legacy accounts in the Chicagoland area when I was 19, some of them don't exist anymore. And the ones that are, the new legacy accounts, are less than 10 years old. You know what I mean? We've got to constantly look at how can we make improvements. You know, if you say this is the way we do it because we always have, that's usually the next is a means to an end. Yes.
What CRM or FSM is like most effective for flat rate? I use Jobber and QuickBooks right now, but is there something that's more effective?
I think they can all work. They all have advantages and disadvantages. They all have a cost associated with them. Aaron uses Service Titan. We use Hindsight. They both work well.
Yeah. Service Titan's $120,000 a year. Titan Hindsight's like 12. Jobber's a lot less.
Yeah.
So there's a serious difference in those things, and you get more value at different scales.
I think you really
and
have
I'm
to
not going to tell you one is a ton better than others. But you've got to look at how it weighs in for how your company's running. But you can apply it in any of them. Kevin probably has.
Yeah, I was going to say at that mastermind conference, I met a guy who was running a $5 million book on Jobber, you know, and using flat rate. So I think when you're trying to pick a CRM, I had the conversation on the way up with somebody who's just ready to get off paper, and it's Service Titan is a big pill to swallow, right? Unless you're a large scale operation, but any CRM is better than none. Talk to us offline during the break. I've got some suggestions. I actually know some contractors in the industry that have built their own CRM and have monetized it, and it's at a very cost-effective rate, and it's just built for irrigators, period. But
I know a guy who's $5 million on paper in service, and it's working well for him. He switched over to flat rate a year ago, and he saw increase like Kurt did, his bottom line. Actually bigger yet, but CRM helps, but it's not the end-all, be-all to be able to figure out and charge appropriately.
And when I first started doing it years ago, I used an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And that's where all the flat rate pricing came from when we went to a CRM. So.
Yep.
I think they can all work. Paper, CRM, all these things. Ultimately, if you're talking about flat rate pricing or doing something of this nature, you're talking about pushing into practice some type of initiative or some type of process into your company that will make things more profitable, less costly, smoother, more efficiently. Ultimately, doing these things like on a tablet, on a CRM, allows your technicians to have their hands in the dirt more, improving people's systems, and less sitting in the van working up quotes on paper or filling things out. So you combine those two together, flat rate pricing, together with a good CRM, together with collecting money on the spot rather than billing 2 weeks later, and you're creating a very efficient, smooth running company that's predictable that your customers can fall in love with.
profitable.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's put our hands together for these two right here for coming up and being willing to share. Thank you so much, Aaron and Kurt. Look, we're gonna take a 10-minute break, so we'll be back in this room. We'll get started just about 10 to the top of the hour. Hey, Jeff, can I steal you for a quick sec? I want to get a picture. Kurt, hold on.
I don't know if you did it at the beginning, but I'd share at least that you guys did this interview for an hour.
Oh, yeah. I streamed it. I'll just take a picture of us.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You get the short guys next to each other. Let me get on my toes.
Fucking belly.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. I thought that was excellent. Great job. Yeah, lots of questions.
Yeah, I knew it. It was a hot topic. Yeah, we got him.
Forward you those pictures.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.